Hi, my name's James Edwards. I'm the head of stage for the Bridge Theatre and I'm currently sitting on the set for Lady from the Sea. So one of the very unique things about the bridge is the bridge can adapt to do many different shows, different things for how a designer and a director want to do a show. Katrina Gilroy, who is our head of productions, came to me probably about 6 months before this show was a concept and said, James, don't get annoyed, but we're thinking of having a swimming pool. At that time I just nodded and went, okay, that could go, maybe it'll come back, but it stayed as a strong feature. And then it became into reality probably 4 months later when the first design concepts came out of how they wanted to look, certain depths. We had to do a lot of work within the building to make sure that the actual weight of the building could take the weight of the pool. The overall structure is just over 42 tonnes. So we had to, underneath us, is a whole new floor built to maintain the weight of the pool. And it's all been designed that if there was any motion within the water tipping or moving side to side, that actually the floor can counter with it. And it was all designed, and that was a heavy design feature leading into it to make sure that our building could actually take the weight of the water. The water itself is just about 32 tonnes. Lady from the Sea is set in what we call our long thrust at the Bridge Theatre. Behind me, as you can see, is the swimming pool. We have 33,000 litres of water in the pool. The pool is 1.6 metres deep at its deepest parts, but we're very lucky that we have different depths that we can set the pool to, as we have an automated floor that moves within the pool. The pool is maintained by the stage team here at the Bridge. There are 3 of us that have been trained by the company Water Sculptures to maintain and look after the pool, so that all safe levels for the pool are for the cast and company when they come in to do the show. We constantly check it every single day with doing temperature checks and chemical checks. The pool sits at a temperature of 33 degrees, so it's quite nice and toasty when you get to go in it. And the pool usually holds its temperature throughout the show because we turn the pumps off just before the show so that you don't hear any heat. So the room is set up in a certain way to do with humidity and the temperature within the room. Like when you walk into your local leisure centre, you always feel that they're very, very hot. That is to do with the temperature of the water, you coming out of the water, and the temperature to protect the room. Most places don't have a swimming pool in their rooms or aren't designed for a swimming pool in their room. So with the facilities manager here and myself, we have to keep the room at a certain temperature, and we have to keep the pool at a certain temperature to protect the seats and to protect the room, because we're actually in a big metal shell. So we have to protect the room. So the pool sits at between 31 and 33. And the room we have to keep at a certain humidity, and that is monitored every day as well by the stage team here at the Bridge Theatre. So the water actually never tends to leave the building. That is why we do chemical checks, and the pool itself also has, like a normal leisure centre pool, it's got filters, UV filters and heating pumps. So it's constantly cycling throughout the day, cleaning itself, going through the filters, going through the UV. Underneath the stage we have a full pool set up. And from one end of the room there is the water that comes into the pool when it gets cleaned and through the bottom, and then it cycles and comes back on itself. So the water is constantly being cleaned. To get the water into the building, it took 3.5 hours, and it was 2 full loads from a water tanker. So it took about 1.5 hours for the first tanker to drain, then it had to go off site and refill at a Thames Water siphon or like a fire hydrant. And then it had to come back and do another 1.5 hours of a hose running all the way from the back of the building all the way through our lift, through the seating bank that you can see behind me, and then into the pool. And then that was maintained and kept an eye on for the first couple of days by Water Sculptures. They're the company that maintain and look after the pool, and they're the company that did all the lining within the pool to make sure that it is treated as a proper swimming pool. The structure itself and what I'm sat on is designed and made by Scott Fleury, who were the scenic builders for Lady from the Sea. The water scenes didn't get rehearsed probably until the very last week of the rehearsals, and they hired out a separate space to go and do those scenes. The way that Simon Stone works is very different to most directors, so those final scenes really hadn't been thought of yet, because it was all part of his design process of when we got to the room what he wanted to do with the pool. So most of the water and most of that design and the way he wanted the scenes to flow was done here in this pool, because this is what he had to work with. In this production of Lady in the Sea, we also have what's called heavy rain and light rain. Underneath the stage, we have a large tank which we fill up daily. That is cleaned and maintained the same process as the pool, because that is a large amount of water. And we have a pipe that runs up the wall, just over there in the corner. It goes across the grid And then up and hidden in the roof, we have 12 rain pipe lines that are set to 6 are heavy rain, 6 are light rain. And then we have control of it underneath. Our water operator, she has control of the floor that's in the pool, and she controls the rain. So when the rain is called, she has a cue and she brings all the dimmers up that brings the rain up within the show. From the tank that we have under the stage, we're able to do about 35 minutes, 40 at the most, of a mix of heavy and light rain. Once that rain is then gone, the fresh water that comes into the tank is from our tap water within the building, so it's quite cold. So it needs a bit of time to warm up again. So we try not to overuse the rain, because otherwise the cast that would be in it would then suddenly feel that it's cold rain on them. So same way as the pool, it's got heaters, so we turn it on as soon as we come in the building to get that water nice and warm up to temperature, and again that sits between 31 and 33, and then that water is used in the show for that one scene. On a double show day, as soon as the audience start clapping on the second show, we're straight to the tap to fill up the tank to get it up to temperature ready for the evening show. So with regards to the sounds, they went through a lot of conversations with various different people who've done different shows of water, what mics work best, what don't work. For some of the scenes, the cast actually aren't mic'd up because of the water. So they're actually projecting with their natural voice. There are some scenes where it is mic and they're under the rain, and we went through various testing with the heavy rain on and the light rain on to make sure that people could be heard, the noises it made if the rain's hit the mics, and there was various tests that we did to make sure that the show could be heard for everyone within the room. Whenever there's a cast member or someone who leaves the stage, between the stage management team and the wardrobe team, there is constantly someone straight away stood by with towels on their arms, towels on their shoulders, to straight away be in those places to clean and make sure those areas are done. We also make sure that anywhere where there's a cast member, because obviously the stage is very unforgiving for them, you're in the middle of all the audience, there is carpet or anywhere where they go that may be wet, the floor is treated or a special floor to absorb some of that water. So this front row that is next to me on my right hand side does, when it rains, gets a little bit of water on it, but you wouldn't know that the carpet dries very quickly and it just goes into the carpet. And we're very fortunate that the floor it sits on is our rubber floor. So again, it doesn't go through, it doesn't seep through under the stage, and it dries very quickly. We're very lucky that one of the crew actually is a former lifeguard. So we do have a professionally trained lifeguard on the show. All the crew are competent swimmers. The stage manager is a competent swimmer. We have things in place that should there be a problem that we're able to get to someone. One of the main ones being that we can actually bring the floor up. So if someone was in the water having trouble, we're able to bring the floor up and get them out of the water quite quickly. We also have a member of crew whose one job is when the show is in the water and people are in the water, he is just eyes on the water, and he has a lifeline and a life hook. So if there's a problem, he can be on the stage within 30 seconds and helping someone should that be needed.